So you got your PPP loan, but you still have more questions. You know you have to spend the money within a certain period of time, but you're not sure what that time frame is exactly. What if you laid off employees, or maybe you cut their hours, but now you want to bring them back? How does that affect your PPP loan or the loan forgiveness? What is the covered period anyway? And how long is the covered period? How does that affect your PPP loan forgiveness? Well, Congress has recently made another round of changes. I think this is like the 17th round of changes that they made with the PPP, with the PPP loan provisions. And I'm going to go over some of the key points of those particular changes and how they affect you and how they affect your loan forgiveness. All right. PPP updates on the other side of the intro.
1877 Levy King, Levy Levy King, 1877 Levy King, LevyKing.com.
What's up, you guys? I'm Corey Hankerson from Legacy Tax, aka the Levy King. IRS took your check, call the Levy King. I'll get it back. 1877 Levy King, LevyKing.com. I'm also the author of End the Tax Nightmare, Insider Secrets to Beat the IRS and Reduce Your Tax Debt. And I want to give you a free copy of my book. Inside the book, you'll learn how to negotiate with the IRS to stop an IRS levy or wage garnishment, how to set up the payment plan that you want and not the one that they want, and potentially how you can settle your tax debt for less than you actually owe. Just jump over to endthetaxnightmare.com, plug in your name and your email address, and you can download a copy of the book for free. All right. That's that. So before we dive into today's video, if you haven't already done so, I'd like you to please subscribe here to our YouTube channel. Go ahead and hit that like button and smash that notification bell. That way you'll constantly be updated each time we drop a new video. We do tend to post about once a week or so. All right. And also, while you're at it, go ahead and follow us on social. We are on Facebook and Instagram. All right, so here we go with today's content. With respect to the changes to the PPP program, I'm just going to run through the highlights here from a sort of high level overview, and then we'll do subsequent videos on each specific individual topic as it relates to PPP. Okay, so the first thing here is you now have up to December 21st to apply to the PPP program, which is a big deal. Before, you had to apply before June 30th. Now here it's already June 4th, so we're already in June. So that time period, that time window to apply would have been running out. But now you have until basically the end of the year, right? December 21st to go ahead and apply for the PPP. And believe it or not, there are still funds available. The last time I checked, there are about 130 billion in PPP funds remaining. So if you haven't already done so, it's not too late to apply, and there's still money there. So out of that 320 billion, there's still 130 billion dollars left of PPP money. If you need financial assistance for your business, go ahead and get it, right? It's your money. Believe me, as taxpayers, we're all going to pay it back anyway, whether you apply for it or not. So if you need it, you qualify for it, you think you qualify for it, go ahead and apply. And community banks still remain the best option, in my opinion, for getting those funds. The smaller banks are still probably the place to check, right? The next thing here is loans. The PPP loans now have a minimum repayment period of 5 years instead of just 2 years. This means you have a longer time to repay the money that you borrow that does not get forgiven. It also means that your monthly payments on the money that you borrow, which doesn't get forgiven, will be lower because the repayment period will be longer. So therefore the monthly payments will be lower, right? And again, that only applies to the portion of the funds that don't get forgiven. The covered period, right? So the covered period has been extended to 24 weeks from 8 weeks, which it was previously, and that goes from the date of loan origination through the date that the loan is forgiven. Right now, the covered period has to do with the time frame in which you are spending the PPP funds on qualified expenses. If you've already met if you already spent the money during that 8-week period of time, then you can still use that 8-week qualified period. But a lot of people are saying they're having a hard time spending the money on qualified expenses within that 8-week period of time. So under these new changes, you now have 24 weeks to go ahead and spend the PPP funds. The next one has to do with the rules for rehiring your employees. Those rules have been relaxed, right? The deadline to rehire and reverse any salary cuts is now December 21st, 2020. Previously, it was June 30th of 2020. So if you've had to lay off some of your employees or maybe reduce their hours or reduce their wages due to COVID-19, you now have until December 21st that's the time that you absolutely have to bring them back and have the PPP funds that you're going to pay them with forgiven. So that's a big change there. The next one here is huge, right? Only 60% now has to be used for payroll costs, and 40% can now be used for other qualifying expenses. It used to be that 75% of the PPP money had to be spent on qualified expenses, and only 25% could be spent on other qualified expenses, right? Let me rephrase that. It used to be that 75% had to be spent on payroll costs, and only 25% could be spent on other expenses. Now, you only have to spend 60% on payroll, and the other 40% can be spent on other stuff. So we're talking about things like rent, utilities, and other expenses that are necessary to keep the business afloat, but aren't necessarily payroll costs. Now you can spend 60% on that stuff. The last major topic that I'm going to hit on here is employer payroll tax deferral. You're deferring your employer payroll taxes is no longer affected by PPP loan forgiveness, right? So the old guidance used to be that your PPP funds would affect your deferral of your payroll taxes in the following way. So let's say you were going to defer your payroll taxes under the CARES Act. The original provision allowed you to defer that money until right around the end of the year, right? However, when the PPP rolled out, the first guidance that we got on that said that, well, you could defer, but you can only defer until the PPP loan is forgiven. Well, the recent change that Congress made now says that the PPP loan forgiveness no longer affects your ability to defer your payroll taxes under the CARES Act. So this means that you can continue to defer for a longer period of time, even though you got the PPP loan and the PPP loan was forgiven. So that's a big deal, right? That's a big savings for those of us that are entrepreneurs and have employees. That's a big deal. All right, so I believe that covers most of the important changes that are just been put out with this new update to the PPP program. Listen, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. You can also find me on Instagram at Ice Cold Tax Pro or on Facebook at Legacy Tax. Please feel free to contact me if you have specific tax questions. I'm glad to answer those on a one-on-one basis. We do provide a free consultation. You can go over to legacytfp.as.me and schedule your free consultation. Glad to talk to you on a one-on-one basis. Or you can reach me at
1-877